Have you ever found yourself in that disorienting place where she cheated, yet somehow you're the one left feeling like the villain? If that hits home, hear me clearly. You're not crazy and you're not weak. What you experienced was manipulation, emotional warfare designed to flip the script and make you doubt your worth. Because the truth is, women who cheat rarely feel soul-deep guilt. Instead, they become masters at shifting blame, using psychological tactics that leave even strong men questioning their sanity. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain. These are 5 psychological tricks she'll use to convince you her betrayal was your fault. And trick number 4? That one's destroyed marriages, crushed self-esteem, and left good men carrying shame that never belonged to them. But before we dive in, please hit the like button so this truth reaches more men. Subscribe for unfiltered, real talk that no one else will give you. And drop a comment with your city. I want to see how many men around the world are done being emotionally played and are ready to rise. Trick 1. The neglect narrative, rewriting history to shift blame. The first psychological trick she'll use, often with shocking speed, is something I call the neglect narrative. It's her way of rewriting the past and reframing her betrayal as something you caused. She'll claim you were never there for her, that you stopped making her feel special, or that you pushed her away. These aren't just emotional confessions. They're accusations designed to make you feel guilty, not angry. Her goal is simple: shift the focus from what she did to what you failed to do. If she can convince you that her cheating was a reaction to your neglect, then suddenly you're the one apologizing. You're the one trying to fix things. You're too busy blaming yourself to confront the truth. But here's the reality. Even if the relationship had problems, and let's be honest, every relationship does, she had choices. She could have spoken up, sought help, or walked away with honesty. She didn't. She chose infidelity. She chose to lie. And that decision was entirely hers. Her betrayal says everything about her character, and nothing about your worth. Trick 2. The guilt flip, turning the betrayed into the rescuer. Once she lays the groundwork with the neglect narrative, her next move is the guilt flip, a psychological trick so manipulative it can leave you comforting her for the pain she caused you. Suddenly, she's crying, shaking, collapsing into despair. She'll say things like, "I hate myself," or "I don't deserve you," playing the role of the broken woman consumed by regret. But don't be fooled. This isn't about remorse. It's about control. The moment she becomes the victim, your role shifts from the betrayed man to her emotional caretaker. Your pain is sidelined. Her suffering takes center stage. And because you're a good man, empathetic, loyal, you'll feel compelled to help her through the chaos she created. But here's the truth. Real guilt leads to action, not just tears. It means accountability, honesty, and facing consequences, not hiding behind your sympathy. If her remorse disappears the moment you comfort her, it wasn't remorse. It was performance. This isn't about healing. It's about avoiding blame. And if you fall for it, you'll carry her shame on your back while she walks away clean. Trick 3. The "you drove me to it" strategy, making you the architect of her affair. Following the emotional disarray created by the guilt flip, she will often pivot to a more direct, yet equally manipulative accusation, the "you drove me to it" strategy. This is where she attempts to assign you direct causal responsibility for her affair, making you believe that her infidelity was not a choice, but an inevitable reaction to your behavior. She paints herself as a victim of your actions, forced into an affair against her will. You will hear her utter statements that are designed to dismantle your self-worth and sow deep seeds of doubt about your contributions to the relationship. She might say, with a tone of long-suffering resignation, "You always made me feel insecure." This implies that her affair was a desperate attempt to find validation elsewhere because you denied it to her. Another common phrase is, "You didn't listen to me," suggesting that her unmet need for communication forced her into the arms of someone else who would. Perhaps most potently, she'll lament, "I felt so alone," positioning her affair as a tragic consequence of your emotional unavailability, implying that you created a void that only another person could fill. Why she says it? The core objective behind this strategy is chillingly effective. It's designed to make you feel like the architect of her affair. By shifting the blame for her actions onto your supposed failings, she absolves herself of all responsibility. If you accept this narrative, if you internalize her accusations, then the affair becomes a consequence of your behavior, not her moral choices. This allows her to evade accountability entirely. She doesn't have to confront her lack of integrity. Instead, she can point to your perceived flaws as the reason for her infidelity. This strategy is a masterstroke of deflection. It places the burden of proof on you to defend your past actions, diverting attention from her current betrayal. She wants you to be consumed with defending yourself against her accusations, rather than holding her accountable for her decision to cheat. This allows her to maintain a facade of innocence, portraying herself as a helpless individual pushed to the brink by your actions. The truth, let's cut through this manipulative fog with a razor-sharp truth. No matter how challenging the relationship became, no matter what difficulties you both faced, cheating is always, unequivocally, a choice. It is not an involuntary reaction. It is a deliberate decision, a conscious act. It is a coward's shortcut, an evasion of difficult conversations, and a betrayal of trust. It is not a legitimate response to pain, neglect, or insecurity. There are always alternatives: honest communication, couples therapy, taking a break, or ending the relationship with dignity and respect. She had agency, she had options. She chose to violate your trust. Trick 4. The comparison bomb, demolishing your self-worth to justify her shame. Prepare yourself for perhaps the most psychologically damaging and confidence-shattering of all her tactics, the comparison bomb. This trick is designed to utterly demolish your self-worth, leaving you feeling inadequate, unmanly, and fundamentally lesser than the person she chose to betray you with. While she might not always utter these comparisons directly, often the implication is far more insidious and effective. The message is unmistakably clear and devastating. She might subtly imply, through wistful tones or direct statements, things like, "He made me feel alive again." This isn't just a comment about her new partner. It's a direct assault on your ability to ignite passion or joy in her life. She might suggest, "He just listened," a seemingly innocent remark that casts you as deaf to her needs, making her new connection appear deeply empathetic while you are portrayed as emotionally distant. Or, perhaps most cuttingly, she might state or imply, "He understood me," painting a picture of profound connection with the other person that you apparently were incapable of achieving. These are not compliments to the other man. They are carefully aimed psychological missiles designed to decimate your perception of yourself. Why she does it? The cruel, calculated purpose behind this tactic is to crush your self-worth. By highlighting the perceived superior qualities of the other man, she deliberately aims to make you feel fundamentally inadequate, insecure, and less of a man than the person she chose to betray you with. This isn't just about making you feel bad, it's about justifying her actions in her own mind and, more importantly, in yours. If you come to believe that you are inherently lacking, then her seeking someone else becomes, in her twisted logic, a comprehensible, even necessary act. It shifts the shame of her infidelity onto your perceived deficiencies. This comparison also serves as a potent form of self-preservation for her. If she can successfully convince you, and perhaps herself, that you were insufficient, then her cheating wasn't a moral failing on her part, but rather a natural consequence of your shortcomings. She uses the other man as a weapon to dismantle your confidence, hoping that a broken man will be less likely to demand accountability or challenge her narrative. She wants you to be consumed by feelings of inadequacy, rather than recognizing her profound disrespect and betrayal. It's a deflection mechanism, a way for her to avoid facing the deep-seated shame that accompanies infidelity by projecting it onto your perceived failures. The truth, let's strip away this poisonous comparison and expose its true nature. She is not genuinely comparing men. She is, quite simply, justifying betrayal. Her comparisons are not objective assessments of two individuals. They are manufactured narratives designed to alleviate her own shame and guilt. The other man is a prop in her personal drama, a convenient excuse to rationalize her infidelity. Trick 5. The "let's just move on" tactic, shutting down your healing for her convenience. Finally, after the emotional maelstrom she has created, after she has tried to make you doubt your sanity, question your worth, and accept blame for her actions, she will unleash the "let's just move on" tactic. This is her ultimate ploy to regain control of the narrative and, critically, to avoid any further accountability, effectively shutting down your natural and necessary healing process. Her words will be laced with an impatient, often exasperated tone, as if your persistent pain or desire for answers is an inconvenience to her. She will say, with a sigh of seeming weariness, "Can't we just leave this behind?" This isn't an invitation to heal. It's a demand to forget, to erase. She might follow it with, "Why do you keep bringing it up?" implying that your need to process the trauma is an irritating, repetitive obsession. And, in perhaps the most gaslighting maneuver of all, she might accuse you directly. "You're being toxic now." This statement labels your natural emotional response to betrayal as a pathology, making your pain the problem, rather than her infidelity. Why she says it? The primary reason she employs this tactic is to shut down your healing process entirely. She understands that true healing, for you, requires acknowledgement, accountability, and a thorough processing of the betrayal. By demanding that you move on, she's effectively commanding you to suppress your pain, to ignore her actions, and to pretend that the infidelity never happened, or that it was somehow insignificant. This is her desperate attempt to avoid accountability by painting you as the problem for not getting over it. If you continue to bring up the cheating, if you continue to express your hurt, you are seen as an obstacle to her desired future, a future where her infidelity is conveniently swept under the rug and never revisited. She wants to bypass the difficult, uncomfortable period of consequences and jump straight to a state of normalcy where she doesn't have to face her actions. She labels your entirely natural and healthy need for processing injustice as toxic to isolate you, invalidate your feelings, and maintain control of the post-betrayal dynamic. It's a way to silence your pain and deny you the necessary steps for true recovery. The truth, let's be unequivocally clear about what genuine recovery demands. True closure requires truth, and truth in turn requires ownership. There can be no authentic moving forward, no genuine healing, no possibility of rebuilding, without a complete and unreserved acknowledgement of her actions, and a willingness to accept full responsibility for the devastation she caused. If she refuses to engage in this honest process, if she refuses to own her choices, then she is not interested in rebuilding anything meaningful with you. She is merely interested in erasing the betrayal from the record for her own convenience. Her reluctance to discuss the infidelity is a stark indicator that she is unwilling to face the consequences of her choices. If she attempts to silence your pain, to dismiss your need for understanding, or to label your entirely valid emotional responses as toxic, then she is not a partner committed to repair. She is still engaged in a manipulative game, prioritizing her comfort and image over your profound need for truth, justice, and healing. Real closure is not forced. It is earned through sincere remorse, deep empathy, and consistent efforts to rebuild trust. Anything less is merely an attempt to sweep her betrayal under the rug, leaving you burdened with unresolved trauma and a profound lack of respect. If you recognize even a single one of these insidious psychological tricks, if her words or actions have echoed any of these manipulative patterns, then let this be your definitive, empowering realization. Do not fall for it. You didn't fail her. Let that truth sink deep into your bones. You didn't cause this. Her infidelity was not a consequence of your shortcomings, your perceived neglect, or your inability to fulfill her every emotional whim. The responsibility lies squarely and entirely with her. She made the conscious, deliberate choice to cheat. She made the conscious, deliberate choice to lie. And by doing so, she made the conscious, deliberate choice to destroy what you were diligently trying to protect, what you had built together, what you cherished. Her actions are a reflection of her character and her choices, not a referendum on your worth as a man or as a partner. And finally, hit that subscribe button. Join our growing community. Because here, we don't mince words. We tell the truth without filters, without apology, and without allowing ourselves to be manipulated. We are here to empower you, to equip you with knowledge, and to build men back stronger, more resilient, and utterly immune to these deceptive psychological games. Your healing starts with recognizing the truth, and the truth is, this was never your fault.